Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Fabulites. I got a question for you. What opens with civilian rebel kicked out of the police folks' business, and what closes with a McIntyre brother shot in the back? If you guess Rebel BET Season 1, Episode 9, entitled Just Us, then you're correct. And I'm about to do a recap and review on this episode. Thank you for being here, liking, commenting, subscribing, and all of those wonderful things. All right, so let's jump into it. Scene first. Scene 1. Let's jump into it. First scene. Let's just jump into it. So we see the brothers showing the April Vaughn video to the captain and a policewoman. And maybe I've seen her before, but I don't remember her. She's a white woman. I'm assuming she's a detective because she has the badge hanging around her neck underneath her button-up collar white shirt. And the Asian torturer of Brim, remember him, is a cop. I didn't realize that. He's Marky, Cop Marky, and he's in an interrogation room. And then we have the white captain asserting that Lieutenant Gold altered and withheld the April Vaughn video and then felt guilty and gave it to Rebel. And I think all of this happened probably after, more or less, they threw, the captain threw Rebel out the room. He like, I'm not your captain, you a civilian, get to stepping. Which is what I would expect. You know, it's like, it's a new day. So I guess that kind of makes a little bit of sense. I guess that Lieutenant Gold was protecting her in a way and allowing her access that, you know, probably your regular average, you know, cop wouldn't. So maybe that's why, you know, some of the stuff seemed a little weird to me. Okay, so then we have Rebel waking up Chi, who is sleeping in a car while she doing surveillance. She doing surveillance at the Vaughn house, and Rebel gets a text while they're there. And she kind of figures out, I think she texts somebody to ask, does he have another car? And then she realizes that even though they've been watching car number A, he off someplace probably in car number B. They could watch that car all day and all night. It ain't gonna move because he already taken care of his business somewhere else in another vehicle. So she gets the text that lets her know that she said he could be in another state or country by now. And then the wife is bringing out the garbage, and Rebel is like, you about to get your lesson and dive in or something. Let's dive right in. She say something. And they end up checking Vaughn's garbage. And she finds a shred, like, you know, the document had been shredded before it was thrown away. But from one shred, Chi is like, oh my gosh, this is a document. It says it's an itinerary for Mexico City. So she figures he about to leave the country and she gonna assemble that stuff and figure it out. She doing some figuration. So we have Jimmy, and Jimmy is good copping the Asian cop Marky. You know how you do a good cop, bad cop? Jimmy is playing the good cop. He in the interrogation room with him, and Mac joins him. He's playing the bad cop. Mac tells the Asian cop Marky that Brim identified him. And Jimmy, when, you know, they leave the room and they kind of have an argument because Jimmy feels that Mac came in too early and he was about to get the Asian guy to confess. And he says they got to get in sync. That's the end of that scene, more or less. And then we're at Daddy Renee's place, and Nursey is putting food on the table while Renee is chilling. Then Renee gets up. I guess it's time to eat. What they having? Chicken and dumplings smell good. And then he look at the table. He like, the table was set for 4. He like, I thought it was just us. And right at that moment, basically, Chi and Rebel enter. Hi, Daddy. And the nurse is like, Sunday dinner is about family. And Renee is kind of like, and he stay at the table for a while, but he end up leaving the table mad. He gonna go eat his food someplace else. He and Rebel have not been talking. And he is tired of Rebel, the child, trying to be his parent when he is the parent, not the child. So then we see Reb and Nursey in the kitchen, and Reb, you should have sussed him out before you invited me. Maybe you want to keep up this mess with me and my daddy. And Nurse Jackie is like, no, baby, I'm sorry about what happened You know, that was a long time ago. And you're going to have to let it go. Rebel, I ain't got to let go of nothing. Okay, so then we're back at the police station. We see Mac and Jimmy, the McIntyre brothers, can't find the money trail for some cop they investigate. And they trying to find the money trail, probably Marky, but you know, they trying to find the money trail to prove this a bad cop. You only make $20,000 a year. How come you bought this? Where you get all this money from? They're not able to find the money trail. And then the woman cop, the detective, comes in and she says there's nobody here that has that tattoo. And Jimmy is like, well, you know, they trying to figure it out. And Jimmy is basically like, well, his uncle worked at the 8th. Maybe somebody over there has the tattoo. And then it's funny you should mention it, because the next thing we see is Harleton. He's a redhead and he the tattoo man. He on his cell. He dumping the garbage. He telling somebody he got to go. But he can't go because Mac and Jimmy come up on him from behind with guns and they get him. Then we're at the police station and Jimmy accidentally on purpose brings Harleton, the redhead tattoo man, into the same interrogation room as Mac and the Asian cop, Marky. And the Asian cop, Marky, is like, you trying to rattle me? And Mac is like, look, we got you two connected, and we got a voice ID on you. You should be rattled. It's a showdown now between you and the redhead to see who talks first. Who gonna talk first? And the man is just getting ready to talk, and who comes in the room? The captain. Hey, can I talk to you for a minute? He says to Mac. I think it's Mac. He come out the room, and the captain is like, this is Marky's lawyer. And, you know, Mac is like, well, when he asks for a lawyer, then I'll let him know his lawyer is here. And the captain is like, let's extend some professional courtesy and send him in. I don't care if he was about to confess or not. Send in his attorney. So that makes it seem kind of suspect with the captain and everything. We already start getting the hint. Something ain't right with him. Fella, what's going on? You scratchy? Okay, so then we see Mac get into Rebel's vehicle, and she's in the police station parking lot, and he's updating her on finding the tattoo guy, Harleton, and rattling the Asian guy, Marky. And Rebel sees the young black cop, who I call Baby Locks, who was watching her earlier in the station. So she get out the car, and she go over and she talk to him. She asked him for help. And he like, nah, it's too much heat. And Rebel is like, it's about Lieutenant Gold and the kind of man and cop you want to be. And then that's the end of that scene. Then we're back with Daddy and Daddy Renee and Nurse Jackie. And he is eyeballing a full bottle of brown liquor. And the nurse is like, you know, let it go with Reb. She doing her best. And the daddy is like, she can't stand you. Let's move to Louisiana. This ain't even home no more. And the nurse is like, I can't do nothing about how Rebel feels about me. And I do love you, but you love your daughter. Your home is here with your daughter. You got something here. We can't move because you mad with your daughter. And then Renee is like, let me just answer me one question. Will you move with me? And the nurse is like, yup. I don't know what it is about, you know, the dynamics between them. I don't know if it's because they're seasoned actors, but I think it's just really beautiful. And I like watching those two together. I like it. Maybe it's because I'm an older woman, so it's kind of like they seem grown. They seem like grown-ups, as crazy as Renee is. So then we see Rebel. She's talking to a guy, and the gray van is in the background. And a man reported it to Rebel because she had put out a hood alert earlier. She said, I'm going to have to put out a hood alert to find this gray van because, you know, the police, they don't know what they're doing. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to put out a hood alert. And lo and behold, she found the gray van. And then we see the brothers McIntyre, and they approach Rebel with something about the Asian cop Marky. And Rebel is like, he don't need to know. He is a uniformed cop, not a detective. Hit him with the okie doke. Okay, so then we see the brothers McIntyre back in the interrogation room with Marky and his lawyer. And the lawyer, charge him or let him go. And the brothers, these guys would love to see you in jail with them, Marky. And they showing them pictures of some guys. We found that van, Marky. We found your cigarettes in the van, Marky. Yeah, we matched your DNA with these cigarettes right here, Marky. So we are charging him. That's what they say to the lawyer. And the lawyer is like, this is bogus. I'll have him out in a day. Don't say anything. And Marky is like, I want to talk. I'm not doing time for nobody. Right, Bella? Okay. So then we see Chi and Rebel. And Chi got into a fight. Sorry. Chi didn't get into a fight, y'all. Chi got the flight information reassembled. So Vaughn, Brian, and his family, I thought she said his family are flying from Mexico City to Vietnam because Vietnam does not have an extradition treaty with the U.S. And Rebel, right at that moment, basically gets a text from her dad. Next thing we see is Rebel and her dad. They're in a park. They're walking and talking. They're chatting and chewing. They got ice cream in the mix. And Rebel says, I'm sorry about the lawsuit. And Daddy Renee say, I'm not here to talk about that. Would you consider moving back into the house? And Rebel is like, no, I have a place. And the daddy is like, I mean, you want to buy it. See, me and Jackie, we fixing to leave Oakland. Ain't nothing here for me but pain. And then the daddy says, we need to get unstuck from the pain. I can't get sober here. You can't change my mind. You want the house or not? And Rebel is like, I don't know. And then she gets a text that Marky confessed and she leaves. So then we see Rebel at the police station and she's approached by the young black cop, Mr. Babylocks. And he's like, you asked what kind of cop and man I want to be? And then he puts something in her hand as he kind of hugs her, So it's kind of like a down low slick move in a way. And it looked like a key fob to me, but I think it was another one of them like little bitty, where you can store data, like little bitty storage, data storage container. And then Mac says, Marky confessed. They thought that Malik made the dirty cops and Vaughn is the ringleader. And Reb is like, well, here's the itinerary for Vaughn to Vietnam. And Jimmy is like, nah, Devon, I know, would cash out first. And he wouldn't leave his family. And so then we see Jimmy at Vaughn's door. And he just coming in. The wife opens the door. Hey, how you doing? And he kind of pushes through. Where's Vaughn? He didn't show up for a shift. And his wife is all nervous. And she moving stuff, passports around and covering stuff with her hand. Moving stuff off the table and stuff. Maybe he's working undercover, the wife says. I have to pick the kids up from school. Like, you got to go because I got stuff to do. That's what she's saying. And Jimmy is like, you asked if we take your kids if anything ever happened to you. Can't afford 2 more mouths to feed. They'll end up in foster care. You ever seen siblings ripped apart? And then he says, you haven't broken any laws yet. And then the wife of Vaughn, you've got some nerve after you turned your back on your brother. And then Jimmy, it's not too late for you and the kids. And then back in the car, the McIntyre brothers decide to let wifey, oh Lord, what is this thing doing? Okay. Decide to let wifey marinate while they're checking on her children and some of Vaughn's hot spots. So they say. So then we see Chi and Rebel back in Rebel's figuration wall. Back at Rebel's figuration wall. And it leads back to the dead Texas's stripper girlfriend, Ashley. And so Rebel talks with her again. Where's his stash house? Ash is like, house? His mama had a house. He was hood rich. All Texas ever had was on his back or in his pocket. And then Rebel has Chi get the mom's house info. And then we're at the mom's house, at Texas's mom's house, and we find out his mom is dead from some kids on the street. And the kids say they don't know who lives there now, but they used to see a gray van. Gray van again. And Rebel pays the kids to throw a brick through the door glass. And as she's entering, she's entering the house, here comes Mr. Porn Mustache Vaughn Bryant from behind Rebel's vehicle while walking down the street. and he has his baseball cap pulled down low. And then we see Rebel in the house, and Brian gets a call as he's looking disappointedly at the house. And then Rebel's in the house, and she's pulling out stacks of money out of a bag, and she senses Vaughn behind her, but he gets her hemmed up, and they're fighting. And Vaughn is like, "You so far behind, you think you ahead. Tell your dead brother I said hi." And the fight goes on, and the fight goes on, and then Rebel breaks Vaughn's neck with her bare hands. I think that's what happened. And then the McIntyre brothers enter the scene, and Mac carries Rebel out. He's her knight in shining white armor. And then we see Rebel on a gurney at the hospital, and the doc is listing Rebel's injuries, and Daddy Renee speaks, and Reb is like, "What are you doing here?" And then we see Chi and Daddy Renee and uniformed Nurse Jackie, and Chi is like, "I called him." And then in comes Gold's redhead. Oh, the redhead compliance officer lover woman. And she says, "The city owes you a debt of gratitude." And Rebel says, "Get me my coat. This is the surveillance video from the evidence room the morning after my brother Malik was shot. Captain Hart," that's the white captain, "switched body cam footage, not Lieutenant Gold." And then Jackie, you know, we on a whole nother scene, and Jackie says, "I love you, but you belong here with your daughter. We two rolling stones. Stay sweet, baby." Mwah. She kisses him and go on about her business. Then we see we're at the graves of the mama and Malik. Renee and the daughter, Rebel, are there. And Renee is apologizing for everything that happened between me and your mom. And then we see this chain reaction of Rebel seeing his dad kissing Nurse Jackie. Then his mom confronts the dad for sleeping with Jackie in her house. Then the mom leaves and gets in a deadly car crash. And the dad says to Rebel in present day, "You know, you need to forgive yourself. I love you." And then they have a daddy-daughter hug. And then we're back at Rebel's place. Mac bought Rebel a toy to replace Mac's favorite toy that she left on Mac's grave. And Rebel is like, "What were you doing at the cemetery?" And Mac is like, "I usually stop by whenever I'm out that way visiting my mom." And then Rebel kisses him, and they're doing the do. And then they're done. Boo! Is this our Rebel? Okay, so then we see Rebel on stage. She's reading poetry over a montage of the season, and Mac is watching. It feels like the season finale, but he doesn't answer a call from his brother Jimmy until after Rebel gets finished, and he calls his brother back. And Jimmy is like, you know, Vaughn's wife has Anna or Hannah called about an insurance policy. That's a euphemism for a stash. And, you know, you want to ride out. And Mac is like, "Nah, let me know if it's anything." And then we see that Mac was and is in on everything, or a lot of it, or something. And I don't know why Rebel's spidey senses didn't tell her intuitive sense, you know, like how she just get totally taken in with no suspicion of anything. You know, and I didn't like how they did her black man. Like, I know I'm out of time, but I feel like that whole thing, he could have made a mistake, but I didn't like how that was left. But anyway, then we see Mac in some alley. He's listening to a recording of him checking Texas for roofing Rebel. And then there's some flashbacks, I think. And then we see Mac hiding out and watching Jimmy with a flashlight, looking around the garage area suspiciously. And then Mac shoots Jimmy in the back, and Mac runs away, and Jimmy radios for help, and Rebel calls Chi. Jimmy's just got shot. This isn't over. And that's what I got, y'all. That was Rebel, season 1, episode 9. Thank you for liking, commenting, watching, subscribing. Be you, be fabulous, you, baby. Bye.